perspective. Please help me in welcoming Chris and Jill.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Meyer, President and CEO of the Baton Rouge Area Foundation. We want to thank you again for having us today. Our colleague, Melancon from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber was scheduled to be here, but she is under the weather, so she sends her regrets. But we're really excited to talk to you today. In the next 5 years, I believe Baton Rouge could be one of the fastest growing cities in America at attracting major events and concerts to its city. Today, we currently rank 11th fewest per capita for major cities in attracting concerts per 1,000 people. Baton Rouge is not punching at its weight class in having the type of entertainment assets we need to really compete as a community with so much richness. From 2 land-grant universities, from being the state capital, from one of the few places in our state that has a growing and booming economy, with all the planned investments we have coming, we're really excited about the opportunity to unleash every aspect of our community. About a year and a half ago, we, the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, and other community organizations came together to really look at how do we retain, attract young professionals, how do we elevate the quality of life in Baton Rouge. And one of the aspects we really looked at was around how do you build a complementary entertainment infrastructure in your community. So Visit Baton Rouge, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, the Tiger Athletic Foundation, Downtown Development District, the Arts Council, the Mayor's Office, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of community organizations came together because we wanted to focus on what are we missing in our marketplace and how do we work together to develop all these at the same time. What was really clear from the study were a few things. Number one, we lacked a major arena that is capable of hosting regular arena shows. The LSU Arena really fits that mold for us and gives us as a community the opportunity to now compete and attract high quality shows that right now pass us by. But we also in our market realize that while we have many venues that are great of below 1,000 patrons, we're missing a mid-sized venue in this market that could really host concerts that are more in the 1,000 to 3,500 people sort of perspective. And that really is an opportunity that I'm going to let Jill talk about with our River Center and its sort of reformation, redevelopment because of now the new LSU Arena. But we also have Tiger Stadium sitting here, which is capable of hosting major stadium shows, of which we all, hopefully all were there when Garth Brooks was in town, but we're not regularly programming that in a way that really, again, complements from the smallest venues to the largest regular concerts and entertainment that Baton Rouge ought to be competing for. 11th fewest in the country is not good enough. There are 4 other communities in the Southeast within the 3 states that neighbor us that are our peers that are punching above us. We need to get there, and so that's what really this opportunity creates. Ultimately, what we are building in Baton Rouge is a set of complementary public-private partnerships. So the LSU Arena, what's fantastic from our view about this is that it's not just a dedicated LSU Arena. This ultimately is a community arena that LSU will have access to for 80, 90, 100 nights a year. But the other nights every year are available to us as a community. So we don't have to get in our cars. We don't have to travel to see the best acts, the best entertainment. We do a city stats survey every year. Our new one will be coming out here in early November or later this month. And we've asked folks in that survey, how often are you traveling outside of Baton Rouge to spend money that you would have otherwise spent here to go to a major show, a major concert, a major theater production? And we found that 40% of people in Baton Rouge are traveling more than 5 times out of our community every year to go to these types of shows that bypass us. Again, we think there's a moment in Baton Rouge where in the next 5 years, we can develop a set of entertainment infrastructure, a set of entertainment assets that are really working from the smallest to the largest shows that give all of us world-class entertainment opportunities. With that, I'm going to pass it on to Jill to talk about specifically how the new LSU Arena complements the redevelopment that we're envisioning now for the Raising Cane's River Center.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I just cannot imagine attracting major concerts, world-class performances, major sporting events to our city with this new world-class arena project that that Chris has been talking about. Of course, this means selfishly for me, more visitors, more excitement, and a boost to our local economy. Because of course, all these folks that are going to be coming in are going to be coming in and spending their money in our community and leaving their tax dollars behind. And this means for a more vibrant community for us and a more fun place, honestly, to live. I'm reminded today of an old colleague of mine who is a destination marketer in another city in the Southeast, actually, and he said to me one day, he said, "You guys say you're hungry when you're sitting on a ham sandwich." And I would say, in our case, we're sitting on a full-course, delicious Louisiana meal. And all we have to do is step up to the plate. And that's what our job is. These next few years, as Chris said, could be a real game-changing time for our region. But we have to seize this moment. We truly have to seize it. Baton Rouge could leapfrog those communities Chris was talking about, and in economic vitality and quality of life, with projects like this arena, and of course, what has spurred the redevelopment also of the River Center, and an additional, hopefully, headquarter hotel for that facility. We hope that with the help of Hunden Partners, who the city has just hired in the last few weeks to be their owner's rep, to represent them with coming up with right-sizing the River Center, determining the size of the entertainment concept that Chris was referring to, looking at the convention facilities and determining how we can stay competitive within our region. We also know that in order to remain competitive, we're going to have to add a headquarters hotel. And all of this is going to have to be through a public-private partnership. And we are one of, as 15 cities within the Southeast, that only 3 of those 15 cities don't have headquarter hotels attached to their convention centers. This means that these folks who are looking at these regional and national conventions are just bypassing us. They're not even looking at us because we don't have the type of accommodations that they're looking for. So we know that this is critical. We add this to all of the other improvements that we see coming on the horizon with Plan BR3, and we are creating a community that will keep people here longer, as far as visitors are concerned, and will make sure that they're spending their dollars here in our city. It also means, and I'm going to speak for Lori Melancon today, hopefully she won't mind, but this means that we're going to keep our own here as well. That has been something that I think that we all are interested in, is making sure that our young people who are graduating from LSU and Southern and BRCC and all the other universities, FRANU here in our community and surrounding region, want to come and stay in Baton Rouge and not leave us to go to some other city that they might think is more exciting or has more to offer. So we feel that this is critical, not only for the visitor economy, but also for our local residents and keeping the best and brightest here in our community. In simple terms, why we're doing this is because we want our residents and our local folks to have the quality of life that we think we all deserve. But as far as a visitor is concerned, we know that this is also, as I said, going to bring in those tax dollars. On your table, I have handed out what we call the gas wheel in our industry, And what this says is that when you build a place where people want to visit, you build a place where people want to live, work, and invest. And so please take that and take it to heart, because this is true. Think of the places that you have visited and you said, wow, this is a great, thriving place. That's the kind of place we want to build for Baton Rouge. And with all of your help and your movement toward locking arms with us and moving forward, I think we can make this happen. And as Chris said, what we're hoping to do is build a brighter future for all of us. Thank you, and we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Just a quick reminder that we're only going to be accepting questions from the press and members of the press club at this time. Thanks, guys. Jordan Arsenault.
Has the due diligence review involved in the project being completed yet, or do you guys know the status?
Of which one? For Oakview Group? Yeah, you'd have to talk to, so the question was, has the due diligence review been completed on the Oakview Group? You'd have to talk specifically to LSU and the team there in terms of that. But our understanding in looking at the country is that the Oakview Group, which has been chosen or is being contemplated as the partner on the LSU arena, they're one of the largest sort of managers and developers of arenas worldwide. And that organization, to our understanding, has received additional investment and has continued with all of its partnerships across the country.
Yes, ma'am. Do y'all have a price tag for how much the arena is estimated to cost as of yet?
So the questions about kind of the price tag on the arena, what I can tell you is that the type of entertainment infrastructure we are talking about in our community over the next 5 years is north of $1 billion of collective investment. Everything from a new world-class arena to a redeveloped River Center, adding a headquarter hotel and other developments. We're talking about the kind of catalytic investments in this public-private partnership that can really help our community leapfrog ahead. So to be able to coordinate over $1 billion worth of investment into these kind of assets doesn't happen without intention, doesn't happen without a team. And so all of this has been very purposeful to work together collaboratively to try to drive this type of public-private partnerships. So something we should really celebrate as a community, that these kind of moments in time don't happen often. And that's why we're so bullish on the chance to really go from being at the bottom of sort of entertainment events in our community to really one of the fastest growing and at the top.
What's the cost? What is the estimated cost?
So collectively over $1 billion. We're not representing LSU, and so I don't know the specific numbers on the arena other than what's been reported in the paper. But we do know collectively from the estimates we're getting on the River Center redevelopment on the arena, we're talking in totality $1 billion, and that's probably a conservative number ultimately in the other things that will catalyze, especially in Plan Baton Rouge 3, which is something the Baton Rouge Area Foundation, Visit Baton Rouge, all those other organizations we mentioned have also collaborated in on how do we really catalyze investment in our collective downtown. And we really were intentional about making sure this look at entertainment infrastructure was really kind of the preamble to that plan. And so we're excited as now we've had nearly 3,000 community members come out, add their feedback and surveys online about the things they wanted to see. And not surprisingly, at the top of the list kept being more entertainment opportunities. And so really collectively planning these things and what goes on around them is really exciting to us.
I wanted to just add too, and that's why Chris stated the public-private partnership is so critical. And I was just talking to Sarah in the back of the room, and both of us have spent time in Chattanooga. And let me just tell you that the communities that are moving forward are creating public-private partnerships. And this is the only way that you can make these kind of major investments in your community.
Where would you build a headquarters hotel downtown? It doesn't seem like
There is, but there are a lot of different places that our partner Hunden, the Hunden Group, is looking at, along with Sasaki, who is also doing the downtown Plan BR3 project as well. So we could look at the riverfront. There's also opportunity on the campus of the River Center now. It could go up over the ballroom. It could go up over a parking lot. It could go behind the center. There are a lot of different spaces. This would be a very tall tower.
Do you anticipate some infrastructure improvements along with that? Obviously, traffic is always an issue. What are we looking there in increasing capacity for downtown? And that would be a tremendous thing.
That's why Lori was supposed to be here.
Yeah, this was a Laurie question.
The traffic question.
No, of course, and I think that's what Sasaki is also looking at in Plan BR3 is the transportation issues, the infrastructure issues, all of those kind of things, and frankly, maintenance as well. How do we maintain these things once they're built?
Yeah, and
Do you have a particular corridor identified that would receive this improvement?
well, so Plan Baton Rouge 3, the question is about the sort of corridors of investment, and relatedly, how do you deal with kind of traffic from all of these? So Plan Baton Rouge 3 is really taking account of the sort of planned LSU development down Nicholson into downtown and stretching north as we connect to Southern about these new gateways into downtown. Certainly, there'll be recommendations on the way we orient streets as we develop and kind of finalize the recommendations around the River Center and how that is transformed. That might affect certain roads, and certainly LSU in their planned development have other ideas on how kind of the arena will be situated and the types of parking infrastructure that would exist there. But the intentionality here is that you would connect these things so that Nicholson to downtown feels like one corridor and there's not this sort of gulf in between. And I think that's what putting a stake in the ground on a redeveloped River Center plus a new arena really allows you then to infill and partner with so many other private stakeholders to invest there.
Last year, the Metro Council passed a resolution, which was a non-compete with the new LSU arena, limiting the River Center to 3,500 attendees at an event. In your estimation, knowing that there is a non-compete with the arenas now, Visit Baton Rouge, do you think that a headquarters hotel is needed for a venue that can only host or have 3,500 people? That's question one. And Jill, question two is, what was the last entertainment event you attended at the River Center?
Well, actually, I'm going to see Leanne Morgan on Saturday. Does anybody? Yeah. Oh, gosh. You know, the hockey game. Several. I can't even think of all of
No,
them.
I'm talking about an entertainer other than Leanne Morgan. Who's the last person you saw as an entertainer at the River Center?
It's been a while.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. But if you'd like me to answer the question about the 3,500, I'd be glad to. What has happened is that there was research that preceded that decision. And certainly we had looked at, if the arena is built, what is the best size for right-sizing the River Center entertainment venue. And that does not mean that we cannot host bigger conventions, bigger events, bigger programming there. And it's still allowed to do up to 8,500 for a sporting event of a professional sporting event. So all of that is still in there and can be housed in the River Center. It's only limiting what would directly compete with the arena. And if the arena can't host it, we have an opportunity to say, hey, you can't host this. Is there some opportunity for the River Center to host that? So it sounds like it's a negative, but it is a very good thing for our community that we will be complementing what's happening at LSU and not competing with.
concern for you? I know that investigation is still underway, but that Oakview group has been in battle with certain scrutiny, and they had to pay fines for big rigging. Is that not a concern for you when we have this idea about all this great investment coming into Baton Rouge, $1 billion, maybe the biggest in Baton Rouge ever? We have a developer who has been subject to so much scrutiny recently around the country.
Yeah, so the question is about the Oakview group in particular. Again, Jill and I don't sit in the position to answer questions on who LSU is ultimately going to choose. What I can tell you, though, is that we cannot develop a new world-class arena as a community by ourselves. We have other priorities in the mix from a public perspective that this really affords us the opportunity to leverage the amazing brand of LSU, to leverage the rich culture we have of Baton Rouge, to attract a sort of private partner that wants to invest in our community. What I read is the same thing that you do in the papers about this. And our understanding is there's continue to be more investment in that organization, more partnership. I will say that Jill and I had the chance to meet with the new CEO who really expressed his support for Baton Rouge and his commitment here to getting it right. So I'm sure whatever process LSU is going to go through is going to come back and lead us in the right recommendation. But from a community perspective, we do not have an arena that is capable of hosting major events today. We do not have it. The Raising Cane's River Center is not set up to compete, and the facilities at LSU are not set up to compete at the level they need to. So we as a community have to come together, as we did 2 years ago, to really decide with LSU and other partners, how are we going to invest and make sure that we have every entertainment asset in our community, from the smallest clubs to the largest stadium tours we can get. And we're here to say today to Baton Rouge that this is all possible within the next 5 years by us working together and acting like a big city.
When you have those meetings with the new CEO, do you ask him to clear up those concerns for you, even though you're not a part of that LSU decision? Is that a conversation that you've had, and what did he say to you?
Yeah, I don't mind sharing. This is we met directly with Chris Granger, the new CEO of Oakview Group, and the first thing out of his mouth was he said, "I apologize to you in Baton Rouge that I put you through this." They've changed their corporate structure, as I understand it. He committed to a number of things they're doing, so we'll let them talk about that. But I found it amazing that his sort of statement to us is, if Baton Rouge will have us, we'll be in Baton Rouge. But he certainly understood. And it really was, again, to me personally, I thought he was authentic. That leader, I was impressed by his work across the country, former president and CEO of the Sacramento Kings, and the development he's done there. And so, that really put him on the right foot with us. And so we continue to sort of be excited about the development of a world-class arena in Baton Rouge.
Ditto.
And then if LSU also wants a new arena, why isn't LSU paying for it?
Yeah, I think so. The question is, why isn't LSU paying for it? I think this is sort of the brilliant moment we're in as a community. Again, we do not have a world-class arena. We do not have a mid-sized venue. We do not have a headquartered hotel in our community today. This opportunity allows us to bring private partners with the public so we can maximize resources and work together. And so this opportunity with LSU, the old way of doing business would have been operating in a silo, and LSU building an arena only for LSU. I think we need to give a tip of the cap to LSU for saying, no, we actually want to build something that's for the community, that the majority of opportunities to go to that arena are actually for community-facing events, not LSU athletics. And I think that's a real win for our community, that we can both have world-class, championship-caliber infrastructure for the LSU athletics team, and then we can have world-class infrastructure for us to go to our favorite shows, monster truck rallies, bull riding, whatever the case may be. But all that opportunity is before us in Baton Rouge, and we don't have to, as taxpayers, foot the bill for all that in the way that other communities might have had to.
If it's a public-private partnership, how much does the public, like me as a taxpayer, going to be responsible for in the scheme of things?
Which one? The question is how much, if it's a public-private partnership, how much am I going to be responsible for that? Let me speak to a few, and I'll ask Jill as well. Today, most of the way the River Center is funded is through hotel, motel occupancy taxes. There's also now some use taxes that are going in there through the creation of a new EDD at the Metro Council. And so again, if you use it or if you visit our community, that's helping to pay for the River Center today. Similarly, the plans, as has been discussed in the media, for the LSU Arena is really to leverage private investment on the front end. And then long term, when we think about future upgrades of infrastructure, whether that's parking garages and whatnot, that there is an EDD that now exists around LSU that people who go to use those assets would invest in future infrastructure so you can bring more people to bear. We want to use every tool as a community to make this work so that the ultimate cost to us in terms of our direct property taxes is nil. It comes more in the form of a use tax if we're actually going to the show, if we're buying the popcorn, or if a visitor is coming to stay in our hotels to attend one of these concerts that today you have to get in your car or you have to fly to.
I don't know what I could add to that, but that's exactly the same.
He's actually been waiting for a hot second.
Earlier you mentioned creating assets. Are there any things in particular you guys are looking to develop as well in addition to the redeveloping the River Center and the River Arena?
Definitely. I think along with the River Center specifically, we want to really focus on the riverfront and of course the redevelopment of downtown in and around that facility, because I think that we can always build a new facility, but we have to have the additional assets around it in order to be attractive.
I'm sorry, I have a clarifying question about that. The redevelopment of the River Center, would that investment be included in the $1 billion that you were estimating?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, conservatively speaking, these two developments alone are going to exceed $1 billion of investment. In Plan Baton Rouge 3, we've really had this theme of creating a new front porch for our community, where really we look out to the river and we really celebrate that. And so some of the designs, we'll invite, we've had all these meetings have been open to the public. In mid-November, you'll get an announcement about the next Plan Baton Rouge 3 kind of community meeting, where we'll be unveiling a lot of these sort of prospective designs and ideas, visions about where we can go. But to invest in these spaces that are really community civic spaces, we have to find creative ways to finance those. The old days of thinking that, you know, the man behind the tree or the taxpayers are going to foot these bills is not going to work. You have to drive investment into your community. And to do that, you have to be a growing community. And to do that, you have to both retain and attract new people to our community. And so right now, we have not had all the assets we need, especially in entertainment, to compete. We're 11th fewest in the country concerts per capita. That's not acceptable in a town that has 60,000 college students. And it's not acceptable to somebody that personally enjoys going to concerts and is tired of getting in my car and coming back late from New Orleans. So we have an opportunity as a community to invest in this without the taxpayer footing the bill, but instead collaborating in a public-private fashion so that we can also approach the other issues that matter in this community, like early childhood education, like bringing down the murder rate. All these sort of things have to go hand in hand, and as a community, I think we can do both.
The man in the Bangles has been waiting.
Thank you. I'm Leslie. I am a member of Trust Club. I wanted to ask about the conventions, or rather the concerts. At the River Center, we have had quite a few sold-out concerts, which packs the whole center. It's like 10,000 people. And Leanne Martin
was one of them.
Lady Wilson, they had to have 3 or 4 in order to host that. So that's one question is, we will be giving that all up to LSU
the reason, what we turned down as far as conventions, concerts, okay, yeah. I do log conventions. We are not logging concerts, so if you give me your card afterwards, we'll be glad to fill you in.
But we would be turning down all those concerts to LSU with the 3,500.
But we would not be turning them down for our community. Certainly we would be housing those, yeah, for the facility. But what we hope to do and what we are committed to do is to come in and really bring those larger conventions and meetings and events in that are not limited by the number of people that can be brought into the facility.
How many will we be able to host with the new arena convention center with the hotel?
The numbers are not specific yet. In fact, Hunden is going to be doing that research and finalizing that research. The last study that we did said we could probably bring in another 16 to 20 large conventions and meetings into the facility that we don't host now.
What size are those, I guess is the question.
We're looking, somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 1,200 people on average. But those people are staying here for 2 to 3 days and spending their money and staying in our hotels. When a concert comes in, a lot of times, you guys, these folks are coming in, spending one night maybe, or going home because it's more of a regional event. So that's why the convention business is such a strong business and why we want to bring so many people in and transform that facility.
Yeah, no, I would just double click real quick on Jill's point that the community is going to win. In 2023, there were only 12 concerts hosted at the River Center. The sold out concerts you can count maybe on two hands, and that would be generous. We're a flyover city. When you talk to the producers, those who route major concerts, they call our infrastructure aging. It's not suitable for quick setups. There's issues with the other amenities around bathrooms and concessions. It's not up to standard. So we as a community faced an opportunity that regardless, we were going to have to invest in either renovating the River Center in a major way, which how would we as a community come up with several $100 million to pay for that? Or we could collaborate with the university that was looking outward at the community and saying, how can we do this together? The other important thing I would stress is creating a mid-sized venue that we don't currently have in Baton Rouge. There's not a facility that hosts artists that are traveling in sort of the 1,000 to 25, 30, 3,000 capacity. This is similar to the Fillmore in New Orleans or the Coca-Cola Roxy in Atlanta, the Mission Ballroom in Denver. These places typically have 70 to 90 shows a year, let alone the additional space that's now available for conventions or other events in our community. But if you were booking, if I could tell you, you could have 70 to 90 shows a year at the River Center with 2,500 people on average attending those, that would be a win for downtown. That would far exceed the less than 10 events we've done that have maybe sold out the River Center. So again, we as a community have to work together if we're going to unlock this investment and have people stopping here instead of passing us over.
What's going to ultimately be the disposition of the Maravich Assembly Center when this is all done?
We don't know. That's going to be something LSU's going to have to determine.
You keep mentioning private-public partnerships. Have there been any private groups that have shown serious interest in this, and any that you can mention?
Are you talking about the River Center specifically?
Talking about any private, you keep talking about public-private partnerships.
Yeah.
Any of the private groups that would be interested?
Well, certainly the one that is in the news, and that's the Oakview group. For sure. As far as the River Center is concerned, as I mentioned, we have recently hired, or the city has recently hired, the Hunden Group. The Hunden Group has worked all over the country in developing these public-private partnerships. And what they've been charged with doing for the River Center is coming in and really right-sizing it, looking at the facility, doing the research, determining what is needed for that facility so that we can become competitive, doing the same thing for the hotel facility and right-sizing that, making sure that we have the number of hotels or hotel rooms or keys, as they call them, and are able to compete. And then what they're going to do after that is then going to put the financial package together, looking at all of the incentives and ways that this could be funded. And after that, then they will go out and search for that developer specifically for us. And that's about a 2-year process, and we just started.
I think this is a question maybe for Chris and Braff, maybe even more of a legislative question, but I think Braff would have a little bit of a say here as well. Another concern we've heard from the community is the creation of the Economic Development District around LSU. That was created, yes, by the Metro Council, but in a way that was
created by the state.
So we didn't, thank you. So we didn't have to vote on it because it was carved out without residents. That was a concern. And so when we're talking about these public-private partnerships, my question is, what say does the public have in all this?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Similarly, the state created the Southern District as well. I think these are, again, we need every tool in our toolkit as a community to attract investment. We want more private investment in Baton Rouge. That is a good thing. That's how you grow as an economy, as you attract investment. Same as we have incentives that attract new energy investments in our state and whatnot. We need to develop those, in this case being around entertainment. That district, just like we've created an economic development district downtown around the River Center, is really designed to sort of keep those tax proceeds dedicated to that infrastructure, so that if you use it, if that's something that's exciting to you, or if you're an out-of-town visitor, even more exciting to us, right, that investment stays there into that development. So again, we think you've got to use all these tools. One of the reasons that I think Hunden, it really rose to the top. They're doing similar sort of headquarter hotel developments in peer cities of ours right now, and it's great to learn and look across the country at all those novel sort of financing tools that it takes. If you waited for only public investment, A, I don't think you have your priorities right, but B, I think we're really shortchanging the opportunity to drive real investment into our community. We want outside dollars here.
How do you address the concern that voters didn't have a chance to vote on this EDD?
Well, voters have a chance to vote on the EDD when they decide to go to a concert, and they don't have to put gas in their car, drive to another city, or fly to see the act they've always dreamed of seeing that right now flies over us. They get to vote when they go and pay for an extra 1 cent on a Coke. I think that's a win if they choose to do it. And if they don't choose to do it, that's fine. But what we hear from young people, what we hear from people all over the spectrum is they would love to see world-class entertainment in Baton Rouge. And what Jill and I are so excited about is that most communities don't have the chance in a relatively short period of time to align all their infrastructure. So we don't have any gaps. And again, this goes from big stadium shows at Tiger Stadium all the way down to our phenomenal clubs, the Manship Theater, others. We have rich assets that we can develop, but we are missing 2 key ingredients, and that's a major arena and it's a mid-sized venue. And working together as a community, we can deliver those without the burden being on the taxpayer.
This man in the front's been waiting.
Okay. Going back in history, 1980s Catfish Town was developed. What happened to that? Let's look at the development for the water center. It was supposed to attract 20,000 engineers here to Baton Rouge. Where are the 20,000 engineers here? It hasn't happened. Okay? If you're going to attract people to stay here, and if they get into the corporate world, they're going to move up the corporate ladder. We don't have, there's only one company here in Louisiana that's a Fortune 500 company. What happens with the people? They leave here, and they don't ever come back. So how are you going to overcome all of that?
Well, you're looking at me. I think that's a question for them.
The question is, how are you going to attract others here? Look, I think we have to respond in a way that answers what they're telling us. Like I said, if you looked at our city stats that the Baton Rouge Area Foundation creates, a year ago we started asking the question over several years, how often are you leaving to sort of seek out entertainment events. What are some of the drivers about whether you're going to tell your children where they ought to live in the future? Where do you want them to live in the future? And what people are saying back to us is, I would love to have world-class entertainment events in my backyard. That's what they're saying to us, and what we're talking about today is a way to do that. That again, if we're working on that, and we're working on early childhood education, and we're working on keeping more kids on track to opportunity, all boats will rise, but it takes our community working in concert. And I think that's the other point to celebrate as a community, is that the public and private sectors, the nonprofit sectors, are really coming together around common strategies that drive more opportunity here in Baton Rouge. And so we are just excited about those other things as we are about concerts and entertainment. But there's a moment here to be responsive to the public.
Well, what you're saying is that concerts are going to be the driving force. The reality is people can go to Houston, they'll move to Houston. Where do people, here in Louisiana, where do they go? They go to Texas, and they reside in Texas. They don't come back to Louisiana. How are you going to handle that?
Yeah, and I'm saying that this is not the silver bullet to keeping folks here. This is not a silver bullet to keeping folks here, but it's one of many, and it's about investment. We need to be a community that is attracting investment. When people invest in you, they believe in your future. And when you invest in yourselves, you grow. When you stop investing in yourselves, when you stop planning for investment, you die. That is what we have to focus on as a community, is how are we working together to create investment and growth. It is possible other communities do it, and I hope in 20 years the people in Texas are having this same argument because everyone's moved here.
I think we have time for about one question, and Leslie's been raising her hand a little longer.
Back to the money. So I know the arena and the River Center, I can call it the Central Place, are tied together. But my understanding is we're going to spend $300,000 to $400,000, or the developer will, to build the headquarter hotel. That's an approximation. It's not the stone. My question is, to maintain that and keep it going, what portion do we think the tax dollars will cost us? Will we be paying any part of that public-private partnership? And afterwards, to maintain it, what are those estimated costs annually? Because we know it's going to cost us. So the question is how much?
Yeah, that would be something that would have to be answered through TAF and certainly their research as far as the arena is concerned. With the River Center, again, our hotel occupancy tax dollars are what's funding the facility now, and doing all of the upgrades that you've seen, the revitalization of the theater recently. That was hotel tax dollars that did that. That was no investment other than those dollars that redid it. But the bond issue was tied to those tax dollars.
But that's in our debt, correct, though?
But you have a stream of payments for it, and that's what it is.
All right, guys, well, it's 1 p.m., so thank you so much for coming today. If y'all have any additional questions, y'all can maybe grab them outside before they run away. For next week, we're going to have Morgan Lamondra with STARS, Sexual Trauma Awareness and Response. And again, I hope you guys have a really great week.